You should notice. Using the Python shell, idle and writing our first program. We'll be writing our code using the idle program that comes bundled with our Python interpreter. To do that, let's first launch the idle program. You launch the idle program like how you launch any other programs. For instance, on Windows 8, you can search for it by typing idle in the search box. Once it is found, click on idle to launch it. You'll be presented with the Python shell shown below. The Python shell allows us to use Python in interactive mode. This means we can enter one command at a time. The shell waits for a command from the user, executes it and returns the result of the execution. After this, the shell waits for the next command. Try typing the following into the shell. The lines starting with greater than are the commands you should type, while the lines after the commands show the results. Greater than 2 plus 3, 5. Greater than 3 greater than 2 true. Greater than print. Hello world. When you type 2 plus 3, you are issuing a command to the shell, asking it to evaluate the value of 2 plus 3. Hence, the shell returns the answer 5. When you type 3 greater than 2, you are asking the shell if 3 is greater than 2. The shell replies true. Finally, print is a command asking the shell to display the line Hello World. The Python shell is a very convenient tool for testing Python commands, especially when we are first getting started with the language. However, if you exit from the Python shell and enter it again, all the commands you type will be gone. In addition, you cannot use the Python shell to create an actual program. To code an actual program, you need to write your code in a text file and save it with a Py extension. This file is known as a Python script. To create a Python script, click on File greater than New File in the top menu of our Python shell. This will bring up the text editor that we are going to use to write our very first program, the Hello World program. Writing the Hello World program is kind of like the rite of passage for all new programmers. We'll be using this program to familiarize ourselves with the idle software. Type the following code into the text editor. # prints the words Hello World. Print. You should notice that the line # prints the words Hello World is in red while the word print is in purple and Hello World is in green. This is the software's way of making our code easier to read. The words print and Hello World serve different purposes in our program, hence they are displayed using different colors. We'll go into more details in later chapters. The line # prints the words Hello World is actually not part of the program. It is a comment written to make our code more readable for other programmers. This line is ignored by the Python interpreter. To add comments to our program, we type a # in front of each line of comment, like this. $this is a comment. $this is also a comment. $this is yet another comment. Alternatively, we can also use 3 single quotes for multi-line comments, like this. This is a comment, this is also a comment, this is yet another comment. Now click File greater than Save As. To save your code, make sure you save it with the Py extension. Done? Voila! You have just successfully written your first Python program. Finally, click on Run Run module to execute the program. You should see the words Hello World printed on your Python shell. To see these steps in action, you can check out this excellent tutorial by me Bringback. However, note that he used Python 2 in the video, so some commands will give you an error. If you want to try his codes, you need to add the print statements. Instead of writing print Hello World, you have to write print. In addition, you have to change raw input to input. We'll cover print and input in Chapter 5. Chapter 3, The World of Variables and Operators. Now that we're done with the introductory stuff, let's get down to the real stuff. In this chapter, you'll learn all about variables and operators. Specifically, you'll learn what variables are and how to name and declare them. We'll also learn about the common operations that we can perform on them. Ready? Let's go. What are variables? Variables are names given to data that we need to store and manipulate in our programs. For instance, suppose your program needs to store the age of a user. To do that, we can name this data useRage and define the variable useRage using the following statement. useRage equals 0. After you define the variable useRage, your program will allocate a certain area of your computer's storage space to store this data. You can then access and modify this data by referring to it by its name, useRage. Every time you declare a new variable, you need to give it an initial value. In this example, we gave it the value 0. We can always change this value in our program later. We can also define multiple variables at one go. To do that, simply write useRage, username equals 30, Peter. This is equivalent to useRage equals 30 username equals Peter. Naming a variable. A variable name in Python can only contain letters, numbers or underscores. However, the first character cannot be a number. Hence, you can name your variables username or username 2 but not to username. In addition, there are some reserved words that you cannot use as a variable name because they already have pre-assigned meanings in Python. These reserved words include words like print, input, if, while etc. We'll learn about each of them in subsequent chapters. Finally, variable names are case sensitive. Username is not the same as username. There are two conventions when naming a variable in Python. We can either use the camel case notation or use underscores. Camel case is the practice of writing compound words with mixed casing, for example, this is a variable name. This is the convention that we'll be using in the rest of the book. Alternatively, another common practice is to use underscores to separate the words. If you prefer, you can name your variables like this. This is a variable name. This is the convention that we'll be using in the rest of the book. Alternatively, another common practice is to use underscores to separate the words. If you prefer, you can name your variables like this. This is a variable name. The assignment sign. Note that the equals sign in the statement useRage equals 0 has a different meaning from the equals sign we learned in math. In programming, the equals sign is known as an assignment sign. It means we are assigning the value on the right side of the equals sign to the variable on the left. A good way to understand the statement useRage equals 0 is to think of it as useRage less than 0. The statements x equals y and y equals x have very different meanings in programming. Confused? An example will likely clear this up. Type the following code into your idle editor and save it. X equals 5, y equals 10, x equals y print. Print. Now run the program. You should get this output. X equals 10, y equals 10. Although x is an initial value of 5, the third line x equals y assigns the value of y to x, hence changing the value of x to 10 while the value of y remains unchanged. Next, modify the program by changing only one statement, change the third line from x equals y to y equals x. Mathematically, x equals y and y equals x mean the same thing. However, this is not so in programming. Run the second program. You will now get x equals 5, y equals 5. You can see that in this example, the x value remains as 5, but the value of y is changed to 5. This is because the statement y equals x assigns the value of x to y. Y becomes 5 while x remains unchanged as 5. Basic operators. Besides assigning a variable an initial value, we can also perform the usual mathematical operations on variables. Basic operators in Python include plus, dash, percent, and which represent addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, floor division, modulus and exponent respectively. Example. Suppose x equals 5, y equals 2. Addition, x plus y equals 7 subtraction, x minus y equals 3 multiplication, z equals 10 division, x y equals 2. 5 floor division, x y equals 2. Modulus, x% y equals 1. Exponent, z equals 25. More assignment operators. Besides the equals sign, there are a few more assignment operators in Python. These include operators like plus equals, dash equals, and equals. Suppose we have the variable x, with an initial value of 10. If we want to increment x by 2, we can write x equals x plus 2. The program will first evaluate the expression on the right and assign the answer to the left. So eventually the statement above becomes x less than minus 12. Instead of writing x equals x plus 2, we can also write x plus equals 2 to express the same meaning. The plus equals sign is actually a shorthand that combines the assignment sign with the addition operator. Hence, x plus equals 2 simply means x equals x plus 2. Similarly, if we want to do a subtraction, we can write x equals x minus 2 or x equals 2. The same works for all the 7 operators mentioned in the section above. Chapter 4.